All right, everybody, welcome to Zoom. It's good to be hanging out with you. We got a ton of people from all over the country, literally from coast to coast, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest. We got Ryan in his sailboat. We got people that do multifamily. We got Dave Pernecki and folks that do notes. Corey and Ellie, nice to see you guys. And there are a ton of people on here, so it's great to see you all. I'm looking through here to see who's on, which is great. So I want to start off by sharing my screen, and I just got a couple quick slides, and then I want to go to talk to Beau. We're going to talk about making deals in the pandemic, how to finance them, how to create cash flow and equity. And we'll talk about market conditions and what you guys are seeing. But really, I want to talk to everybody that's on. So we'll make this as personal as you want it to be. If you've got a problem, we'd like to hear about it. If you want some help. Melanie Jacob is a note investor from Michigan. Good to see you there, Melanie, as well. And so it's a big group. So we got people that are landlords. We've got people that are flippers. We have some wholesalers. We have people that do multifamily. We have people that do single family. We have people like me that may mix a cocktail of all of those together, right? And so that's okay too. And we can talk through that. But if you've got a problem collecting rent, or if you got a problem on a note you can't foreclose on, or if you're worried about the challenges coming up, well, let's talk about that. This group can help you do all of those things. So we'll get through all of that. Let me share my screen here. Find my PowerPoint. There we go, Beau. Get to that one in a second. Looking good. All right. And let's see if I can find the chat box to put on here. All right, guys. Hey, there's some of you guys that I know really well. Extremely well. And then there's other folks that are signed in today that we have never met in person or even online. So it's good to have both groups with us. My name's Jim Ingersoll, and it's good to have you along.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you. And so you got some different video options. We don't care if you have your video on or your video off. It's up to you. You can also just keep your mics muted if you could. That would be a gigantic help for me and everybody. But in the bottom left-hand corner of Zoom, there's a little video camera. You can turn it on and off that way. You can also put a virtual background in, like mine, like Trevor. Trevor, what is your virtual background there? It looks pretty cool.
I don't know. No, actually, I got it from.
I like it.
Yeah, I downloaded it from somewhere. I can't remember where.
All right.
Well, Geographic or something.
Kim says hello from the river in VA. So is this Kim Virgin, and what river are you at? That's what I'm wondering, because like I was telling Ryan earlier, I'm in the process of buying a house on the river in Deltaville. So that kind of intrigued me. So you can put a virtual background up. Introduce yourselves in the chat box. I know for sure we have active investors, we have passive investors, we have people that do apartments, we have people that do the single families, flips, we have private lenders. Tell us what you do and where you do it. Say it loud and proud, Quincy likes to say. And then, you know, stretch a little here and there and have some fun also. Like John Morey, say hello and give us like a little salsa move or something, can you?
Oh, come on. You're not going to put me on the spot again, are you?
Yeah,
No, we're not
Oh,
dancing
you love
today.
the spot, John.
We're not dancing today.
John,
He does love the spot.
give a little salsa move, John.
Oh, come on. Not today, man. I'm not wearing good stuff.
You guys that know me really well know that I don't sing, I don't act, I can't dance, I don't have rhythm. The only creative part of me is really my mind, and that works good for real estate. But like John said, if you're not talking, please mute yourself. Since I can't find like a massive mute button. Cheryl Nelson, I forgot that you're in Tampa, but I'm trying to connect Jessica Steck with people in your area. So if you could put your email in there, and then maybe, or just connect with Jessica Steck on Facebook. She's looking for some rentals in that area. Anybody else in that area as well would be great.
Thanks, Jim.
It would really be helpful to her. I know she's working on building a network. Anybody else here trying to build a network, like virtual high five for network? Because as you guys know, your network is what? Your net worth, right? So stretch, we're going to have some fun and we're going to help some people today. I wanted to start with this. This is in my Facebook group, and as early as this morning, Mary Hart was up super early from the Hart Farm making a comment on it. And I really like it. It's because I think most of us can relate to most of these zones, right? It's like, who do you want to be during this period of time? When this crap is finally over, whatever that is, and we're celebrating like we have a vaccine or we don't ever have to worry about it again. You want to look back and say, did you spend the entire 2020 in fear? Or were you learning? Were you growing? I mean, when you're in that fear zone, are you complaining frequently? Do you get mad easily? Do you grab food, toilet paper, and medication you don't need, right? Or are you in the learning zone, like you become aware of the situation and start thinking about how to act, evaluating information before spreading it, recognizing that we're all trying to do our best? Or are you really heading into that growth zone where you thank people, you're grateful, you have appreciation, you keep a happy emotional state and spread hope even though you don't need to? And think about where you're at and where you're headed as we go through COVID and what you want to be able to look back on this period of time for your life and the relationships that got deeper with your spouse or your kids or your parents or whatever it is. And think about where you want to be. That's why I said in my Facebook group this morning, I said, how confident are you that you're going to be where you want to be at the end of 2020? Because our goals got really shifted around over the last 3 months since mid-March when we sort of went on shutdown. Latron Thorne, good to see you on here. By the way, you guys can save the chat with the 3 little dots. You can click on those and save that so you can reconnect with everybody and build your network. So like I said, we got all these groups. We have private lenders, wholesalers, note people, landlords, but aren't we all just investors and entrepreneurs at heart anyways? And there's a picture of John Heyer from our Dealmaker session in February. A lot's changed since we met, and many of you were in the room there with me. But I really like that picture of John, and he's just an awesome guy. But here's like a quick update, guys. We're up to 40 freaking million people unemployed. I mean, 40 million, think about it. Isn't that insane? This is insanity, what's changed since beginning of March. Businesses are going bankrupt. You know, we got, who was the latest one, John? Oh, Golden Corral, right? No more Golden Corral buffet, hair cuttery, Gold's Gym. I mean, there's a lot of them, right? Office is going to get killed. Retail's taking a beating. Restaurants are struggling. Multifamily is changing. I don't know about you guys, but you guys that do apartments and multifamily, I've been looking at deals over the last 2 weeks. I am buying stuff. Yes, everybody hit mute button, please. I beg of you. Thank you, Jerome and John and everyone else. And I can look through your things and tell. I'll start muting you guys manually. There we go. There's a whole bunch of them getting muted. But you know what? I am seeing when I'm looking through commercial deals and multifamily deals, make sure that you're looking at the last 3 months of financials, because they're going to want to send you the 2019s. But what happens is over the last few months, hey, Tom Olson is on here. Awesome, Tom. Good to see you. The last few months, the financials in multifamily have declined, okay? To the point that the one I looked at last week had a negative NOI for April. Imagine that, a negative NOI. Jerome, unmute yourself real quick, if you could. I'd like to talk to you. So if you have a negative NOI from, you know, if that continued, would you have a negative cap rate?
Yeah.
Have you been looking over the last 2 weeks also?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking every day. But we've made a decision that those aren't the deals we're buying, right? We aren't, because it's a falling knife. You don't know when it's going to stop, and you don't know which end you're grabbing. And so we're looking for stuff that's still performing, and we don't think the April, May, and June numbers are the true performance numbers.
I agree.
So we're going to look at January, February, March, and then see what happens on the backside. So, whenever the stimulus money runs out, I think is when we'll actually get a true indication of what multifamily rentals are going to be, just because, some people are making more money on unemployment than they would be if they were working. And so, we've had people pay up 2 or 3 months in advance because they had the money in hand. And so, once we take out the artificial dollars and we see who actually goes back to work and who doesn't, I think you'll get a better indication of what the real world looks like. But it's a lagging indicator, right? I think everybody wants to be ahead of the curve. And I just don't. If a buyer has a property that's performing, they have no incentive to sell at a discount today.
Yeah, they got a little more incentive now. If you've got a negative NOI, what do you think that feels like to the operator or the owner of that property? If say you got like 2 months of negative NOI, I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even if you have a positive NOI, that doesn't mean that you're covering your debt, right?
I agree.
So if your debt service coverage ratio isn't over 1, then you're writing a check anyway. And so, there's a whole lot of issues there, and there's going to be some stress. And the great part about this group is, you can come by in cash and take that, but those deals aren't bankable. And so for buyers like us, we put bank debt on everything. We can't take those deals to the bank. They won't fund.
All right, very good. Good perspectives. And at the same time, guys, new mortgage applications for retail are up 9%. Is anybody surprised at that? That means there's new buyers coming into the market, and inventory everywhere is tight. There isn't enough houses. So the retail markets, I'm really surprised, are super hot. So I've listed 2 houses in the last 7 days. Both of them had showings all day long and multiple offers. So I've sold 2 in the last 7 days. Both of them had 4 offers on them, and we got over ask on both. So how about your market? Is the retail side of it hot? Are you still finding renters? Christopher French, good to see you. Let's see, Chandra's on here. Nice to see you in the chat. All right, so here's the question. Success in crisis requires a great mindset, a great network. There's all kinds of problems, and how are we going to position ourselves to solve them? This is from our deal maker in February. How are we going to position to solve them? There you are, Tom Olson. I see you right there. Here is my information if we haven't met. You can email me anytime. You can go to my YouTube or my website, Investing Now Network. If you want, really the most active place I've become is right in my Facebook group. Many of you guys are members. That seems to be like the best place for me. It's growing about 1,000 people a month right now, so it's growing fast. And it's really a good group. It's a solid group of a lot of people.
A month.
All right, so strong mindset. So I hope you brought something to give today. What have you been reading? What are you listening to? What are you learning about? What are you grateful for? Who are you happy to be hanging out with? Type it into the chat box, because the more you give, the more you receive, and that really helps your mindset. Have you heard a good podcast? Have you heard a good YouTube? Have you met somebody recently that's been able to help you? Have you read a book? I'm finishing up Fix This Next. It's a good book. I recommend it. I can't pronounce his last name. But I've also been doing a lot of podcasting lately, as you guys see that are in my podcast. I really enjoyed the podcast I did with George Antone. And I did one today on lease options. The last couple of weeks, I've done things on private money and multifamily. So I've been really enjoying some of those discussions. So what are the opportunities, challenges, and blind spots? This is the last thing before we connect in here with Beau. Beau, this came from you. 4 in 10 adults, if faced with an unexpected expense of $400, they would either not be able to cover it or would have to cover it by selling something or borrowing money from the Federal Reserve. $400. So we're all blessed, right? But there's incredible amounts of challenges for a lot of people right now. And those challenges are going to create opportunities, and we need to be ready. There we go. Beau, I found an old picture of us, but you still look good.
I'm a lot skinnier now.
You are a lot thinner, man. And hey, by the way, so am I. I'm
That's
just
good.
saying, in this picture. Started this year too. I am looking for who's unmuted. Beau, now I don't want to, I guess, introduce you too much, but I mean, you're in Las Vegas, right?
Uh-huh.
And you're investing passively. And you're doing loans pretty much nationwide, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So I mean, first of all, I can't imagine what it's like in Las Vegas right now with the strip shut down. Is it strange?
Well, I live in the suburbs. I live in Henderson. It is strange because when I'm driving to my house, I could see in the distance, I can see all the casinos but things are actually starting to reopen. I think June 4th, we're going to have a lot of casinos start to reopen. So the question will be is, will COVID-19, how will it affect? Will everything be leveled off, or will we have a resurgence of the coronavirus, which then will create a bigger scare, right? Which then I think would send us into a worse shape, essentially, right? Like I think personally, if everything is kind of peachy and we work through this going forward with the rollout of people going back to work and we just put the measures in place. But I think if we do have a resurgence and then we get, shelter in place again, I think that's going to be devastating. I mean, it's already pretty devastating. Because how many out of those, what did you say, 30 million people? 40 million people. So, how fast will they, once the economy opens back up, how fast will they get reabsorbed back into the workforce? So will it be, 20% of those 40 million, will it be 50% over the next 6 months that get rehired or brought back on from the furlough? So I think that's going to be a big indicator. And I was just on a call the other day with that Ken McElroy guy who he had that YouTube video.
Yeah.
And it was a good conversation because they were talking about the single family market, how it's like actually hot right now, right? In most markets, people are overbidding. I just saw a loan request yesterday, and they were overbidding a property in Oakland by $80,000, right? And there was multiple offers on a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,000-square-foot house for $730,000. So it's surprising, but there's just lack of inventory. But also, I think, like somebody was saying, the knife is still falling, right? And we haven't even really seen the fall yet. This is just the beginning. So I think in the next 6 to 9 months is when you'll see what damage is going to be done. I mean, this is just the start.
So Beau, I know like you and I, we're not in the same market, so I can't hang out with you in person very often, but we exchange a lot of thought. I mean, we text, we message, and you and I have like been all over the place on this. Like we thought we were headed to the Great Depression, and then we thought it was 2008, and then like maybe it's a reasonably quick recovery, but like you don't know, you know what I mean? And you're talking to a lot of people and doing a lot of podcasts and things as well. Kind of like where are you at with this at this point? What are you thinking if you had a crystal ball?
I mean, I think that there's going to be a lot of wealth created, a lot of changing of money, of wealth rather. I see a lot of people starting to buy businesses, undervalued businesses. It seems to be like an emerging market. Like a lot of these entrepreneurs I know are starting to, buy like HVAC companies and things that, was kind of unexpected. They're real estate investors, but they're looking at it that they can buy it at, 50 cents on the dollar. So I think you're going to see, things like that kind of emerge. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think the world's can come crumbling down. And I think that, if you own rental properties, just take a look right now. You might have maybe 10%, out of the group that's not paying. If for every 10 doors, maybe 1 or 2 are slow paid or not paying. So if you're not over leveraged, you're not going to get hurt that bad. And then I think that it'll create buying opportunities, just because there's fear in the market. Whenever there's fear, that creates Warren Buffett, whenever there's blood in the streets. So there'll be opportunities. I just think that you have to be conservative. In my business, in the lending business, like what it was like a month and a half, 2 months ago, like overnight, the hard money business halted, because all these companies like RCN and Lima One that everybody's familiar with, they all sell their loans in the secondary market, but there's no liquidity. So those types of lenders are coming back into the market now, but their credit boxes have changed. So you're seeing in the past, I was able to originate loans up to 90% of the purchase, 100% of the repair costs, up to a gross loan amount not to exceed 70% of the ARV. So that's extremely high leverage, right? That's not sustainable. What happened is it used to be a balance sheet type business where local funds would lend in their market. Then the institutional money came in, and they compressed rates, and points and fees dropped, which was good for the borrowers. Instead of paying 10% and 3 points, people were paying 8% at one point if they're a high level fix and flipper. Then that's changed. I mean, now what's coming back in the market is 75% of purchase, 100% of repair costs held back in escrow, gross loan amount not to exceed 65%. So you're at 70, 75 as opposed to 85, 90 as far as purchase price. Rates that were in the 8s are now 9.75, 9.5, 10%. But there's still a ton of lenders. Like, I have been researching, I'm putting together this research of all like different lenders that do different things. I mean, the amount of lenders out there is amazing when you really dive into it. So there's always a ton of money. Now the lenders that are strong are the balance sheet lenders, meaning they don't sell off their loans, they keep them. And those people, they have their own funds, they just circulate their money. So I'm still doing loans. I mean, I actually started, I have my company, but I also do the business development for a direct HUD lender, because a lot of my friends and borrowers are in multifamily space as well. And I have friends that are buying $50 million properties. I have a lot of guys that are buying properties, anywhere from 2 to 5 million, 50 to 120 unit properties. And then so I got into doing HUD loans, because what I found was that everybody thought HUD was just for affordable housing, but you can also buy multifamily with HUD that's market rate. And so I really like educating investors on options they have and delivering solutions. And I just have a broad range of solutions for different investors, just through years of networking with different funding buckets. But the HUD program, for example, right now, if you're able to buy a property, you're talking about rates that are 2.49 to 2.75 fixed for 35 years. So,
Wow.
I think there's going to be a great time to be buying these 100+ units. And, as I watch a lot of these syndicators, all they do differently is they don't, when I look at my business model, buying cheap, cash flowing properties in the Midwest, it's not intimidating to buy a $30,000 property that pays you $8,000, $9,000, $1,000 a month. To me, that makes sense all day long.
Yeah, just like Stacy said earlier.
Right.
You can do it blindfolded. It's a no-brainer.
I mean, that to me, that's the bread and butter right there. Like, you got to start with your baseline there and get get a portfolio of those smaller ones done, because it's easy to have a financial friend network. The problem with small ones is you're not going to get hard money like
Well,
the
this is live.
traditional hard money. You're going to have to really be good at the
He's
bank
talking about
elimination
financing.
blueprint, right? You need to not work with hard money on those typically. You need private investors.
How do you work more with private investors, less hard money?
Can you
Does it
mute
cost
yourself,
more? No.
whoever's talking?
I'm looking. Go ahead.
Oh,
Oh, I can't believe you went back in time. I was like in my DeLorean going to the bank elimination blueprint. But honestly, like John Morey, myself, you, a bunch of us met there. So that's okay, isn't it?
well, that's the whole thing. I mean, you just look at if you look at this business model where you can go and you can burr these properties pretty easily, and you can use other people's money, right? Like you build your financial friend network, then you buy this, like Stacy's deal. She has enough money. She's probably paying all cash, but I'm just saying, let's say you don't have the money, you go find the other piece that's going to lend you the $39,000, and they get a first position mortgage on that property. Maybe they lend you the 10 to fix it up, so they get a $50,000 lien on the property. You pay them 10%, fix up the property, stabilize it, keep it rented out for 6 months, refinance it, get new appraised value. She said it's worth $100,000. You go to 70%, pays back your investor. You pocket 10 grand for a vacation, and now you're still cash flowing, $400 a month. I mean, the BRRRR model to me is the place to be. And obviously, you need the transactional money of flipping once in a while, but being multi-dimensional is the right place to be. I think, as I grow and I go, okay, well, I have these friends that are buying these. I look at it where I can, pick up a multifamily property, and that property can pay me, like that property can make me 100%, or one property, that 100 unit building can pay me 10 grand a month net, or 15 grand a month net. That covers all my expenses for the month, right? Like I could make one deal and it could change my life. But I think we all need practice first. And I like practice. I really, when I looked at kind of like the BRRRR model, it's so easy to do them on the smaller properties because you don't need to raise as much money and so forth. So sometimes I wish I lived in a cash flowing market, not on the West Coast, because you could I could see how I could like multiply myself 1,000% because I'm there. I'm being able to look at deals and things, but doing it remote is possible. It's just a little bit more headache. But I just enjoy real estate in general, and I like to now kind of getting in bigger deals and closing deals. Like I closed like a couple months ago. I closed like a $3.3 million or $3.2 million loan, and it was the easiest loan I've ever done. It was a quick bridge loan. And so I love doing that because to me, I mean, it's just like, for me, that's like flipping a house. It's excitement. You get a deal and you figure out how to fund it. So I do that, and I do investing. And now, my goal for the next 6 months is really to grow my multifamily lending business. And I'm really kind of diving deep in multiple options because every scenario is different. Like I got a guy that brought me a deal and it was 62 units, but it's completely vacant in an opportunity zone. And he's got about 1,000 units. So he's a strong borrower. So it's, finding out who's going to do a completely unstabilized property and how I could, finance it with bridge money and then roll it into either agency debt or a HUD loan. So I think as an investor, like, even if you're not like a lender like myself, you need to kind of get yourself in the mindset of learning these. This is just another tool. Like, what can I do? Obviously, if you can buy something seller finance or subject to, that's a lot easier. You don't have to deal with any lending institutions. But at the same time, once you get to a certain level, if you can borrow money at 2 and 3%, 2, 3, 4%, it's just phenomenal, right? So I think you need the combination of private lenders, hard money lenders, institutional residential lenders, just so you know what you can do, because you gotta take steps, right? Like you gotta, if I'm looking at a BRRRR, like Stacy's BRRRR, for example, she's already has it figured out. She probably paid cash or whatever, either cash or a private money investor, funded it all, so she has no money out of pocket. She fixes it up in a month. It's rented out, and then if she wanted to, she could find a lender that maybe after 90 days of seasoning, right? And seasoning is that they'll let you use new appraised value, right? Like you want to be able to use know when that lender, what their requirements are to use new appraised value, because it's all about the velocity of money. If she can then refinance with her portfolio lender or her bank and get all the money back, and then use that private money lender again on the next one and the next one. So
Right.
she's buying all these property with no money, and then creating. So she's all in. She's going to be all in at, well, that one is 50 cents on the dollar, but realistically, most of them are 65, 70, 75 cents on the dollar. But that's a great buy. If you can do that,
Do it
that
all day
model
long.
all day long, that's like, for me going forward now, it's like, that's like what I want to do,
They're
because
easy deals, Bo. Those little cheap houses are easy. Like Stacy, the hard part is just finding the deal right now, I think. But the deals are going to improve.
well, I mean, I think that's the other piece of the tool belt, excuse me,
Yep.
is that, like, sometimes I get frustrated because I don't have the cash flow I want right now, but it's nobody's excuse, nobody's problem but mine. The reason why I'm not is because I'm not looking at deals. What are you actually doing on this call? If you really like take a look at yourself, what are you actually doing to find deals every day? Most of us sit on our butts and just want them to fall on our lap, and that's not going to happen. The guys and girls that are really successful are actively marketing through direct mail, through pay-per-click, through their Investor
Cold
Carrot
calling
website,
or whatever it is.
Investor Carrot, cold calling. So when I really look at it, it's all of everybody I know that's really successful it has a prospecting system. It might not be them prospecting, but they have a prospecting system that's bringing them deals. Maybe they prospect wholesalers. They became great people at finding wholesalers that just feed them deals. It's just so we got to carve our niches out. And I'm talking for myself too, because that's what I need to do.
Yeah, no, me too. That's why I always, these Zoom calls, like people ask me sometimes, Bo, like, why do you podcast or why do you do a Zoom call? I mean, I get inspired too. It helps me refocus as well, just like you're saying. I mean, I can see like your wheels are turning right now, right? You're challenging yourself, aren't you?
Well, yeah, like I do a show on Friday morning with Vinny, and he owns a lot of multifamily, right? So naturally, I'm going to get opportunities to fund his deals, and he's buying $50 million deals, and so I'm looking at for one of his partners is building 80 units ground up. So I'm looking at doing a HUD loan for the construction, right? And that's a $15 million loan. That'll pay me a good amount of money. So whatever you're doing, that's like prospecting. So everything I do is integrated, right? Like I think you got to integrate everything. So you got to be social. And Facebook's a great place to start. You can connect with so many people in Facebook groups and so forth, and find partners and find opportunities that really, like, I always go in and try to reverse engineer stuff, really. And it's fun because
let me go back to your FHA real quick. What's the minimum loan amount to get 2.5% 30-year fixed?
so those loans are really geared for properties that are worth at least $2 million. So it's if it's a smaller deal, it'll be like a small balance agency loan, like a Fannie or Freddie Mac loan.
And do they want 6 months? They want 12 months of seasoning to go into that if you're going to refi, if you have it. So if somebody on the call right now has a $2 million property and they're thinking, my gosh, I'd love to go to 2.5% 30-year fixed.
Sure.
How long do they have to own that before they've got enough seasoning or equity, or what are the sort of ballpark guidelines?
So HUD in the past, if you had a bridge loan and it wasn't a HUD loan, they had a 3-year waiting period. They waived that about 4 months ago. So now, as long as the property has a debt service coverage ratio of 1.17, that's a market rate property or greater.
That's low.
You're ready. You got to have 3 months at 1.17.
I mean, that is an opportunity. So Bo, let's talk about that. Let's say that somebody on the call today, or yourself, Bo, wants to go out and get something positioned so they can move into that. So that's going to be, say, 40 units at $50,000 a unit or whatever it is, right? What's the way to, I mean, do you like to bring in joint venture partners for a down payment? Do you like to syndicate? Like, what have you seen sort of work well for the initial acquisition? Or, I mean, one of my favorites, Bo, is just get the seller to hold a second for 20 or 30%.
Yeah, yeah.
Then 3 months later, you can refi them out.
So I think the play right now, if it's a smaller apartment, it might not be a good fit for HUD, because there's certain requirements. Like right now, agency lenders, Fannie Mae, they're because of COVID, they're requiring like 12 months of interest reserve on the loan.
Okay.
So you got to factor that in. Like,
Right.
so every deal's. So we take a loan and then we size it up and we let you know what the proceeds are. We factor all the costs, because HUD I have a training video on HUD. I'll share the link. You should watch it. It's like 30 minutes, but it's just good to know what's there. But what I want to get really good at is saying, like, so everything we do is value add, right? That's how we make money when we don't have money, is we have to, I mean, that's how you make the most amount of money.
That's
I think,
what I live on every day of my life, Bo.
I think eventually though, like you get to a certain point in your life where raising money becomes easy for you.
Right.
And then when you get to that level, you start buying A-class properties because you just have so much capital, you don't need to do the heavy lifting anymore. But when you're starting out and you're growing and growing and growing your net worth, you have to do the C properties and bring them to B, right? Like that's
Right.
the goal. So diving deep into this, there's all different hard money bridge loans for these multifamily properties. Like I just was helping this guy out in a suburb of Houston. And so there's some real hard money lenders out there that I have, like, that specialize in this multifamily stuff, and they're expensive, but it's cheaper than a partner. So they'll do up to 75% of the stabilized value. So 75% of the stabilized value. So this guy was buying this place for 900 and needed 285,000 in CapEx and renovations. And then the stabilized value was $1.6 million. So this lender will let you go to 75% of that $1.6 million. Right. So you could basically fund the whole deal. Now it's expensive money. So I could do a loan amount of 1.2 million gross loan amount. They'd hold back the 285 for construction. So then you got to net out, but those loans are expensive, like, because you could literally get into deals. So going back to what you were saying, you go into these multifamily, seller financed, get in with very, very little money, and then position the CapEx with a loan like this. You can basically get a bridge loan from these guys with none of your own money. They'll give you the CapEx, assuming it fits in the criteria. Then they give you a 12-month loan, and then you fix the property, stabilize the property, and take it out with agency or HUD financing. And then you just bird with none of your own money. So, or you bring in a capital partner. Obviously, the more money you bring in, you're going to get better terms on a hard money or a bridge loan. I mean, if you're trying to leverage it, you're not going to get. And you got to have a good plan. If you never done a multifamily, you gotta have a plan. But it's out there. I see people doing it, and so I see that there's a huge opportunity now in those like 20 to 50 unit properties, because they're mom and pop run, and there's an opportunity, just go, well, if we renovated and we brought the rents up to market, what is this property worth? That's where you can make a lot of money. And that's where I see, people in the multifamily space where they bought properties for like 12 million bucks, and like 3 years later they're worth 17. They just made 5 million bucks or whatever that, right? Like, that's the power of multifamily. That's the power of leveraging other people's money on those bigger projects. So that's impressive.
You see yourself doing one of those deals at some point, or are you going to stay on like the Midwest cash flow plan?
So I'm going to do more Midwest cash flow. I still want to build up more. I haven't been as active buying just because I got married and my life changed in a while. Thank you. But I want to get back to buying, and I think there's going to be a tremendous opportunity. So I want to build that portfolio. I just talked to a guy in South Bend the other day. He's actually friends with Vinny. He just bought owner financed 23 houses with $10,000 out of pocket. Owner financed 23 homes.
How'd you miss that?
I don't know. So you're gonna like, the whole burnt out landlord thing, because those properties are heavy. You need the right property manager to manage those kind of.
Yeah.
But those opportunities are out there.
I think seller financing is great. I mean, I'm putting some seller financing together right now. I mean, including on some apartments. I think you can be creative right now, and you can get it a little easier than you could have last year. So I think that's smart. Imagine a whole portfolio for $10,000 down. I mean, that is amazing.
I know. I think that's when I know a lot of the old school IRA guys, like, you know, like the Walters and the
Yeah,
Quincy's, like their whole kick is doing stuff where they don't pay tax on it.
right.
Whereas like the younger people, the younger generation, it's more like, well, how can I buy this and get cash flow with none of my own money, right? Like
Yeah.
to be a
How
deal
many
architect, that
people on the call today would love to buy assets without using your own money and create cash flow and equity? Honestly, isn't that how we all start, Beau? Unless you're a trust fund baby, you inherit some money, you innovate a new product, you know, you've got to, most people, including myself, like when I left corporate America, you don't have like a huge amount of money to start with. So you've got to learn to leverage and use other people's money to get your stuff. I agree with you. Right on. So, and if you can do that, your return is infinite. So why not rinse and repeat and focus and do more of those along the way? I think it, you know, I was thinking about this yesterday, Beau, because I've been doing this like, I don't know, 15 years. I think over all of the deals I've done, hundreds and whatever, 1,000, I think the best ones are the ones I just bought and held for some period of time. It's simple.
yeah, I mean, if you really look at it, like when I look at how many houses I've bought and sold that I've owned, and like I'll walk you back to my first property. And I started the mortgage business when I was 20, but my
Yeah.
first property was in San Ramon, California, and I wanted to buy a house for myself, but I couldn't qualify for a loan. So I lease optioned this property. It was San Ramon's a pretty expensive area, and this was just like at a duet. I owned one of the units, right? It's like a townhouse, and it was back then it was worth. I set a lease option with lease option. So I said I'll pay you, you know, $2,000 a month for rent, and then I have 12 months to exercise the option to buy this at. It was 3.25. 3.25 was my exercise price, and he agreed to it. And then at the end of the 12 months, you know, values were going up, and it would praise at 375. So I had $50,000 of equity that I created. So I was able to actually do a loan and refinance it and be able to purchase my first house. But my point is that if I would have just held on to that house, right? I ended up moving and I sold that house to my brother. If I would have just sat in that duet, today it would have been worth $750,000. I would have owned it now for 20 years, probably owed nothing on it. So I'd have a $750,000, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you just think about that. You think about taking 750 grand right now. Let's say I sold it. I took my $500,000 exemption. I paid tax on the 250. So I had that money. And then I took 750. What could you leverage with 750,000? If you did it right, you could easily bring in 20 to 30 grand a month of net cash flow, right? Like with that much money. You just look at those little moves. So there's these dips in the market, especially in the cash flowing markets. So if like people who started investing in California in 2009, they think they're really smart because now those properties have tripled from 2009, or they doubled at least, right? So, I mean, so I think for people on the phone or the call that have not bought their first property yet, look at the house hacking option first, right? Because that's the easiest way to get in, and figure out a plan. So let's just say you go out and you're a W-2 employee. Go get yourself an FHA loan, so you only need 3.5% down. Go find yourself a 2-unit, a 3-unit, or 4-unit. Live in one of the units for a year. Fix it up. Move out of there. Go do the same thing. Do it again and again and again. And keep on leveraging the owner-occupied financing, because that's an easy way to get the ball rolling in your progression of wealth, right? Like this guy I know, he started with house hacking in the 25 years old. I think he's got like 18 doors now. He get 18 doors, and he's like, now he's 30, maybe in like 5 or 6 years, something like that, right? I mean, it's just incredible. But people, that's like the easiest step to do. So I think going forward, you know, always come from that mindset of how can I if I'm new, how can I house hack? Or even if you're, you know, growing, maybe you still, your next house is a duplex or triplex, right? Like, how can I lower my expenses and then cash flow, right? And then use long-term bank financing. If you're going to use bank financing, use it in good ways and leverage these programs. FHA, I mean, you're talking about rates in the threes, 30-year fixed. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't,
so,
yeah.
and it's a good time to use options again, I really think. So, and that's kind of where you started, which I love. All right, I want to see what kind of questions you guys have. Does anybody have a financing puzzle or something you're trying to figure out or need some help with, or trying to figure out how to create cash flow? Well, one of the things I've always liked talking to you about over the years is the 100%, 200% club, and getting into that mindset of keeping, covering your personal expenses 100% with passive cash flow. Can you talk about, how that has made an impact on your life?
Sure. I'm a kind of guy that doesn't like, even though I do loans, I don't really get deep into math. I don't like spreadsheets. But I think what's important for all of us to do, and I know with me, we get programmed, right? We're on Amazon, we got things on auto pay. First step, I believe, for people, and I'm actually probably going to pay somebody to do this for me just because I just don't like to do it. But get all your finances. What are you spending every month, including mortgage, childcare, credit cards, car payment, insurance, utilities, whatever, all your revolving debts. Add that up, have it on a spreadsheet. What it costs you for food for a month. What is it, your actual living number that it costs you each month to live? And let's say that's like $6,000, $7,000, $5,000. I mean, I think what you need to do first is you add up all those expenses. Then the first milestone to really become financially free, right? Like if you're total out of pocket every month, including food and lifestyle, is $5,000 a month. You need to build a map to get you to $5,000 a month net cash flow. Because once you do that, you can quit your job, right? Because now you got $5,000 a month net cash flow coming in, and that's really powerful when you really think about it. Then the goal is to get to becoming 150% or then a 200%er, where you have so much passive income you don't really need to do deals, right? Like if you don't, like if I didn't have to, I wouldn't flip a house because I don't really enjoy. Some people, granted, some people love flipping houses, but I probably wouldn't. I like the fact of, for me, a perfect scenario in the next few years is waking up, going to my Keurig, making a coffee, going to my computer, checking my email, getting a statement from my property managers, looking at the statement, and that's it, right? Like if you can do that, and then maybe send a few e-pays out for your mortgages, right? If that's where I want to achieve myself, where I can do that, and then I don't have to worry about property management. I don't want to be a property manager. I want it like that, because then I can do whatever I really want to do, right? Because that's the real goal of real estate, is that don't get me wrong, I love learning about real estate and doing real estate, but at the end of the day, I think the 100%er rule is so important for all of us. And as I get older, I really realize the importance of it, as I get older, especially because I've been self-employed my whole life, that you just realize that, like, if you don't do it now, you're not going to get younger. So the sooner you start realizing that you need to set yourself up, and don't get me wrong, it's a lot of hard work. I just had a tree fall in and crash into one of my houses, right? Like, so there's expression, shit happens. You're gonna deal with a lot of stuff. You're gonna deal with the wrong contractors. You're gonna deal with, but create that plan and stick with it, and there might be some periods where you don't buy real estate for a few months or a year, right? But when there's opportunities around, like where we're coming into another chapter in our lives, where I don't know if it'll be as awesome as it was in 2009 for people that were ready, right? People that were ready to buy in 2009 and 10, 11, 12, and 13. I mean, think about the wealth that was created. I mean, you could literally get something in contract and a month later it was worth 20, 30 grand more.
Right.
without even doing anything. So
I'd like another shot at that if it happens. I don't know if it will. Yeah, that's really great points. Now, I do have some questions coming in. By the way, Beau talks about not liking flipping, but I will just say for everybody, he has been on HGTV doing flips in San Francisco. So you can Google him and find it. I always like to throw that out there, Beau, just for fun. But no, and you guys that know me know I flip like to the point that I'm sick of it too. I mean, I'm really into building cash flow and really liking the apartment space a lot. And so anyways, that's me as well. I'm tired of flipping also, Beau. But Jerome is a multifamily investor, Beau, and he's asking, what is the HUD minimum for doing a refi on multifamily?
we can go to 80% cash out on a refinance. I mean, really,
What's the loan amount minimum?
I mean, we really want the loan to probably be, I mean, we really like 2 million and above. I mean, sometimes you could do 1.5 million. But there's also small balance agency loans that it might be a fit for. So if a property needs a lot of lifting, so HUD's general requirements they have a couple different programs, but on their 223F program, 85% occupancy level, agency debt's at 90%. So you want 85%. If you're not there, you're going to want to do a bridge loan on acquisition. But you got to just factor in, because there is other costs associated with these commercial loans. So we kind of size up, and we have to kind of put it on our loan sizer and see if it works. But really, I would say 2 million and above is really where you want to be.
Spot. So do you think it's more work or harder to do like a $2 million deal than a $500,000 deal? Other than like the financing and things, what's your opinion?
Well, as I meet more and more multifamily syndicators,
Yeah.
I'm talking, these guys and girls, I should say.
I mean, take Vinny, for example. We both know Vinny. Vinny's a good friend of yours. He's done extremely well.
Yeah.
He makes these $20 to $50 million deals look, probably easier than they are.
Well, yeah. And so, as a syndicator, I've seen him on a couple occasions get 7-figure paychecks up front, right? Because
the syndication fee is how much again, typically?
It depends on every type of deal, but it could be anywhere from like 1% to 4% of the purchase price.
4% of a $20 million deal is a lot of money. You're right.
So
1 to 3.
and then the difference is the investors might get 70% of the cash flow and equity, and then the GP. So you have your limited partner side and your GP side. But he started with nothing. He started with a 14-unit building for $180,000, right? And so he just has no fear and learned the business and got in front of investors, and now people love throwing money at him. I mean, they, on their $50 million purchase, they had to raise 16 million, and they did that pretty quickly between him and his partner. But that's a different, he's in a different league.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, I don't really need to be that large. For me, if I look at a number for me, what amount of monthly cash flow do you really need, right, to live a great life and not worry about anything? And so some people say, hey, I want to make $100,000 a month cash flow. That's great. Like I had Michael Zuber and Thatch Nguyen. He's the Vietnamese guy on Instagram, and those guys are 100K plus cash flow a month. And
questions or comments?
And but not everybody needs $100,000 a month. I
don't, because I don't have a burn rate. You know what I mean? So that also comes with risk, liability risk. I heard John Schaub last month. He said, remember, every asset that you own comes with liability risk.
I have a friend. Okay, so I have these two people in a group I'm in. One of them is worth over $100 million, and the other one is probably worth, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 million net worth. But he's the happiest guy I know because he was a high producing real estate agent and started buying cash flowing properties and assets. And he makes 40 grand a month now. And the guy does not have a cure. You know, he doesn't need to be any bigger. He doesn't, you know, where some people like this $100 million guy, he wants to become a $500 million guy, which is fine if it's for you. But I'm saying for, you know, if you got 40,000 a month coming in net,
You're good.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like, come on, like that's the American dream, right? $40,000 a month, you can do what you want. I mean, I don't need Lamborghinis and Ferraris. You know, 40 grand a month net, and I mean, you're living a good life. You're traveling, and you don't have a care in the world. So, but we all have to get started somewhere. So, how, you know, and going back to kind of wrap this all up, how many doors do you need on the $40,000 purchases versus buying a 100-unit building? And that's where you got to kind of figure.
Yeah.
But how much easier is it to buy a $40,000 single family homes? It's super easy. So that's why I say that's a place to start, you know, and then figuring out to fourplexes make sense sometimes, but make sure you have separate meters, right? Or because a lot of the fourplexes you buy, if you don't have separate meters, those are turning you over. In your fourplex, are they all 1-bedroom units? Higher turnover, right? We got to learn all this stuff because you're going to need to know where your problems are going to come in, because there's always problems in real estate, and you have to be a good problem solver to be good at this business. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Jim, is being able to solve problems.
Yeah, you got to be able to solve problems, and if you can create a life that you can carve out the life that you want for you and your family, there's a lot more to transfer to your legacy than just money, is what I was putting in the chat a minute ago. And it's, you know, you got relationships with your kids and your spouse and your parents and your core values, your faith, you know, just teaching people in your family tree to have gratitude, and just live life on your own terms is a lot more than having hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like if you look around when these, like I was looking at some of these lenders that came into the hard money lending business, one in particular, they were crushing it. I mean, the guy is super sharp that was running the business, but you know, his business now, I mean, he was originating $80 million a month in hard money loans.
Wow.
But now, how many of those are going to go bad? How much headache is he going to have? Right. So when I really look at it like, I think you need your own why, and I don't really have like some strong why, like I want to like save the world. Like, you know, I want to be good to people. I want to help people the most I can, and I just want to have, you know, I want to wake up, I want to go drink coffee, I want to go to the gym, I want to have lunch with friends, I want to go to the beach. You know, life shouldn't be that complicated, and sometimes we overcomplicate things. Times like this is when you really kind of like realize that the importance of having reserves and a nest egg, and having other streams of income. You know, I feel bad for like a lot of these people here in Las Vegas, right? These waiters and these casino workers, they have no money, right? Like I'm fortunate enough that I can pivot and do, you know, I can get an idea today and implement it and create some money. I can broker a loan. I can do, you know, I can do a referral for an SBA loan and make a fee. I can make fees. I have my real estate broker's license. I can sell a house if I want to. I can wholesale a deal. I could go ahead and send out 2,000 letters and wholesale some deals in South Bend, right? If I really, so that's what I like, being able to have these tools. And then also, as you're building your rental portfolio, it's paying you, you know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 a month, $15,000 a month. And that's what we want. I mean, that's why we're all on the call. I don't think anybody really has a different idea of why we got into real estate, is that we wanted time, and we wanted to be around like-minded people and a tribe of people. And that's, I go to conferences like yours, not so much that I'm going to learn something, even though I will learn something, but I go for the tribe, right? Because I go because I get energy from you.
Network, yeah.
Yeah. And that's,
I get energy from you too, Beau. Man, I'm ready to go do some deals. Anybody else? Hey, does anybody have a challenge, an issue, something you want some help with? Because everything that every person on this call today on Zoom needs is in Zoom right now. There's somebody on this that could be in your network helping you out. whether you're looking for deals or whether you're looking for figure out how to do financing or build your rental portfolio or whatever it is. Everything is here. Don't you agree, Beau? Like, we have no reason not to succeed. We live in the United States, first of all. I know things are a little different this year, but it's still the US, and there's a lot of opportunity. It's just a matter of getting ready and going after it.
So through networking, I met this gentleman, and he has kind of like an educational platform. But anyways, he has, the other day or last week, he called me and he says, "Hey, I have a lot of investors that want to lend money. Like, they want to lend money to, like, because I was telling him what I was doing in Indiana, and literally the guy told me he's got $100,000 to $200,000 a month where these people have retirement funds that want to place it, right? Like, and so like if I was really smart, I would have been like jumping on that, right? Like, there's opportunities all around, is my point. Like, I could literally set something up with him within the next week and have enough funding to go and get that engine running. So what I need to do is now I need to, speak to just an attorney on how to set it up and things like that. But like, just through networking, I met this guy at a conference.
Right.
I met Vinny at a conference, and I didn't know who the heck he was. I bought him lunch, and then I found out, he's worth, lots of millions of dollars, and he could educate me on buying multifamily properties. And I had no idea who he was. And then over the last 3 years, we became friends. I sold him a $3 million house in California. I did an $8.5 million bridge loan for him, made $43,000 on that. He just referred me about $30 million in loans. So these are just relationships that going to events and networking and not going, it's got to be two-dimensional, but those are the kind of opportunities that are all around us all day long. And, it's really about taking action. I'm going to just tell one last kind of story, and then I'll let you guys go. I've always had all these ideas. And when I was younger, I created a piece of, it was an exercise machine for boxing where you could throw combination punches. And when I was young, I had my grandfather create a rendering for it. I applied for like a pre-patent on it. And then I sent a letter with the concept to this company called Fitness Quest at the time. I was 16 or 17 years old. And they wrote back a letter saying, "Hey, it's a great concept. We're just not interested in licensing it or purchasing it from you." Fast forward to like 3 years ago, I was sitting watching an infomercial. Some other guy created the same thing that I did 15 years ago. He just went, I stopped after I got that letter with Fitness Quest. I didn't pursue it, is my point. Fast forward to 15 years later, somebody else had the same idea, but they just went forward with that idea. And now they're on infomercials selling probably, a couple $1 million in product every year. Right. So I think we all have these ideas, and I know I've had probably 3 to 4 solid multi-million-dollar ideas. And the only problem why they didn't become multi-million-dollar ideas was me, because I didn't follow through. You got to follow through.
Yeah, I agree. Follow through. I think follow up is the best F word in real estate, by the way. If nobody's following up, you need to be. But, I think if we focus, if all of us pick one thing as we head into June, like, what would your one thing be? Tell me. What is your one thing? Like, if you focused on it every day during the month of June, what would you accomplish 4 weeks from today? Really, I mean, it's so easy, but it's so hard, right, Beau? To just identify one single thing, whether it's finding a deal or finding, attracting some money to your deals, whatever it is. What is your one thing? Pete said, make offers. Well, if you guys make an offer every day, at some point in the near future, you will have a deal. Would you agree, Beau? If you start making one offer a day, you will find a deal?
Yes.
So I know, and it's easy for me to say that. Everyone's like, well, how can I go make a deal? Well, maybe you got to challenge take what I call the 10-10 challenge. It's my new one, Beau. But just wake up every day and before 10 o'clock, contact 10 sellers or 10 landlords and ask them if they want to sell at a discount to you. Whatever it is, if you need private money, start meeting people and talking to them about what you do, whatever it is. Focus on that one single thing for the entire month. And I think it'll come true, don't you, Beau?
Yeah, I think what I would like to see you do next, Jim, is create a separate Facebook group, which is strictly for accountability.
Woo! Are you going to hold me accountable to that?
And I'm going to hold you accountable to that.
Ah,
But that group has to just strictly, that's all is about accountability. People have to post like what they did today on it or something like, we figure out, because really, honestly, I mean, I think everybody needs accountability in some way. Diet, business, financials, like saving, even simple things like linking your checking account with another bank account and saying, okay, every month I'm going to have it automatically deduct $200 or $300 that goes into an account that I never look at, right? Like for rainy days like today. And then before you know it, 4 years later, you got 15 grand sitting there or whatever, right? And you never missed that $200.
I love it. So Leah said everyone should join Inner Circle. Beau, you're in Inner Circle with me already. So, and a whole bunch of people that are on ours. So I just put that post in there. But yeah, I mean, just focus on one thing is amazing. All right. All right. Cheryl's got her one thing. Ray Ferguson, good to see you on there. How you doing? If you guys, if somebody wants to unmute and say hello, I mean, feel free. Otherwise, we're going to wrap up in just a minute. Tom Olson, I'd love to say a quick hello to you if you could unmute. Oh, you're just typing in the chat.
Hey, Jim.
So you just typed that in there. I haven't read it, but what's it say?
Just says that my one thing for June is to find out what people need and actually try to help them. So if there's anything anybody needs here, let me know.
All right, good. And they can do that with your email that you put in the chat?
Yes, sir.
All right, Maui Mark, it's good to see you on here. There's so many people on there, I can't keep track of who all is on here. How are Mark, if you could unmute real quick, I'd love to hear how things are going in like Maui, because you guys are still in lockdown, right? All right. Let's see. Jane Irwin's putting in offers on multifamily for a business to buy or a business. I love that. That's a great goal. Ginger, you doing okay? All right. Ryan, we're going to do a deal together here pretty soon, right?
Yeah, I actually have a lead for you, I think. I'm going to send it over a multifamily, maybe seller finance deal.
All right. So, so Beau, if I get that deal with Ryan with seller financing for a while, I can come back to you at a later date and you'll help me get into HUD financing maybe?
It's a multifamily?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and again, Beau, maybe you could put your link or your email into the chat for everybody too. Beau is obviously a good friend of mine. Just somebody I've really enjoyed getting to know you since we met. Beau and I met online through Bank Elimination Blueprint quite a few years ago, but it's been really good. Micah Tronto, good to see you. Dave Fernecki, anything on notes? We haven't talked too much about notes and landlording today. Brian Rhodes, say a quick hello, Brian. Gigi, good to see you. Cole Thornton. So we got some wholesalers, we got some landlords, we got some investors, and it's really good to see everybody. All right, so we did record this. I've gotten a lot of people that are asking for the recording and things. So I'll get that out to you guys as well. I hope you guys found value in this. On a scale of 1 to 10, was this like a 10? It was really good information. You're focused. You're ready to go. Good. Ken, is that you on the side there? Say hello.
She has an air about herself, so I just wanted to give her the whole screen.
Well, I mean, we got to celebrate you because like we just celebrated Memorial Day. So I just want to say thank you for all you've done for a lot of veterans.
Appreciate it. Everybody kiss a veteran today.
All right. All right, guys. It's good to see you guys, Ellie, and everyone else I didn't quite get a chance to say hello to. Watch for the recording. John Morey, you want to say a quick hello to everybody? What's going on in Alabama?
Yes, I miss everybody. I miss our little get-togethers and everything. So yeah, everything's doing well over here. My other project that I'm trying to do to let everybody know is trying to get into the tiny home space, meaning you buy a shed and you turn into it a house. And I'm seeing this more and more in my area. So I'm trying to buy about 30 acres and then hopefully we can do that.
You know, Lisa Engelhard just did a really good project on that. I'm sure you've talked to her, John.
Yes, I have.
She job on Tiny. She really likes it, and she's got them on Airbnb now, which is awesome. And by the way, Leah Coleman is saying she wants to talk to you because she's been doing the same thing. Personally, I like small houses. I use them for travel nurses and things. I actually really like them. Dave Bernecki said notes are opening up, which is good to see. All right, John. So you just celebrated your anniversary a couple weeks ago, not your wedding anniversary, but your Kiss Corporate America goodbye anniversary.
Yes.
I mean, how's the journey been? It's been like 4 years now.
Yeah, it's been 4 years, and just to let everybody know, you don't want to jump into this just cold feet. I was forced into it cold feet, and it's been a rough and happy ride at the same time. There's a lot of up and downs in this business, and everybody knows that our season, it's not always peachy. But the biggest thing is you got to stay the course, keep moving forward, and your biggest help here is going to be your network. We talk about this all the time. Your network is so valuable. Please love on them. Love on them.
Yeah, I always say, John, add value to your network. I mean, that's why I'm doing Zoom. I hope somebody gets value out of this, right? It's a way that I can sort of pull people together without having to meet. Zoom is the ultimate social distancing. I mean, I can give you guys like a virtual hug or a high five, but I mean, it's crazy times. I can't even go to church anymore. Beau, any final thoughts for everybody as we say goodbye? I really appreciate your time today.
No, thank you for letting me talk, because it always motivates me. I got myself fired up, but also too is the last point is with what's happened. You know, as real estate investors, how can we use technology like Zoom, right? Like the world, these technology people are going to be working from home now. Like I think, like, you know, forward looking, what are the opportunities going to be? People from San Francisco might not want to buy $2 million house. Maybe they move to Las Vegas or Washington, Oregon. You're going to see more of that. So as real estate investors, I think we got to seize opportunities.
Watch those trends. I just saw a post in my Facebook group. If you guys are not in my Facebook group, I'm going to post here. Please join, because there's a lot in there. There's a post this morning on that, on where people are sort of migrating to. I mean, think about it, Beau. I mean, who's going to want to live in New York City after this?
That's why I moved to Nevada. I mean, the city
Yeah.
I lived in would have been 1.3 million versus the $300,000 house. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah. And believe me, I'm from New York. I love New Yorkers, but you know, I think they're going to want to be migrating out of some of these big cities. All right, guys, I will send you the recording. It's really good to see so many friends, Beau. I'm grateful. Keep your great mindset rolling, and I look forward to seeing you again in person again sometime. See you guys later.
See you.